Welcome back, folks. Today we'll be looking at 5 SCPs that are much more dangerous than they look. Now, while this is a bit of a common theme for anomalies, these are some that stood out to me in particular. First off, we have SCP-178, a pair of cardboard 3D glasses. Now, physically, these are completely non-anomalous. However, when worn, the wearer will perceive large, monstrous bipedal entities in addition to their ordinary surroundings. These entities have been shown to be mostly docile and curious, roaming around the area or looking over the wearer's shoulder. However, testing has shown that these entities will become extremely hostile if you interact with or touch them in some way, resulting in deep lacerations appearing on the wearer's body until expiration. Once an entity has become hostile, even taking off the glasses won't save you. Oh, and the glasses do make stereoscopic images appear 3D, so that's nice. So if ever you're looking to watch Spy Kids 3D with a little extra danger, here's your chance. This anomaly was recovered in Tennessee by a Foundation agent operating undercover within the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, who was investigating the home of a child found dead in her second-floor bedroom, apparently as a result of an unusual mauling. During the investigation, the agent noticed a blood-stained stereoscopic image of a Ferris wheel, as well as a pair of 3D glasses, which had seemingly been thrown during the struggle, if you could call it that. They then put on the glasses, looked at the stereoscopic image, and immediately noticed one of the entities an inch from his face, leaning over his shoulder and looking at the image of the Ferris wheel alongside him. Smartly, the agent immediately removed the glasses and contacted the Foundation, who has since performed a number of tests using D-Class personnel as guinea pigs. Testing has resulted in more details into the entity's physique, notably being described as hideous, having too many eyes, and having additional upper appendages as well as smooth heads. Additionally, testing showed that these entities are capable of harming individuals other than the person wearing SCP-178. In one test, a subject, Subject 1, wore SCP-178 and described the entities to a second subject, Subject 2, who then attempted to greet the invisible entity. Subject 2 was then quickly eviscerated. A similar result later occurred when a test subject told research staff, "There's 3 in there with you. Look, there's one leaning right over your shoulder." This test resulted in the loss of all research staff involved. What a shame. So, in conclusion, while these innocuous-looking 3D glasses are harmful enough to an uninformed wearer, the fact that even bystanders can end up as mincemeat makes this anomaly a significantly greater threat than it appears. Next up is SCP-1025, the Encyclopedia of Common Diseases. This anomaly is a hardcover book, around 1,500 pages long, which is, as titled, an encyclopedia of diseases. What makes this SCP dangerous is the fact that reading an entry in this book will cause the reader to start exhibiting symptoms of that disease. Testing has shown that while the symptoms are real, no physical cause of them can be ascertained when the reader is examined. For example, Subject 1025-03 read the entry for cancer of the lungs, resulting in severe coughing fits, but no tumors were discovered during autopsy. Note that the subject did not die from the illness, but was rather terminated by the Foundation prior to examination. Subject 1025-27 read the entry for appendicitis, and after some time began complaining of significant abdominal discomfort. Notably, this subject had previously had their appendix removed. Upon examination, the subject still did not have an appendix, but it was noted that the area where the appendix would normally be looked a few shades more red than it should be. But this is where another potential anomalous property of SCP-1025 begins to appear. Despite the anomaly seemingly doing little more than causing an advanced version of the placebo effect, Foundation staff seem to develop an extreme form of hypochondria based around its potential effects, with notes on test logs getting more and more paranoid whenever they are unable to find a physical source of the ailments. For example, the notes on Subject 1025-03, cancer of the lungs, reads, "We clearly didn't wait long enough, but we all heard the coughs and his wheezing." The experiment was then repeated, with the subject being observed long-term before termination and autopsy. Again, no tumors were found.
What if the illness vanishes after death, making infection all the more insidious?
The same test was performed again, with the same results.
We have to keep trying. Imagine if this were an infectious agent. Imagine if there were more books like this out there.
Eventually, research staff seemed to devolve into obsessive testing, burning through D-Class personnel by the dozen, to the point where research was moved to a dedicated, isolated facility. At one point, a researcher that had never even made contact with SCP-1025 was placed in containment for observation due to a persistent cough. While this was clearly done out of pure paranoia, research staff then began theorizing that the anomaly had the ability to cause generation of diseases without being read, because bro had a sore throat. This culminated in this frantic research note stating that even anomalous diseases might be caused by SCP-1025.
He got out! The crazy bastard got out somehow. We were so stupid. The addition of height is a classical symptom of SCP-016 adapting to the stress of being confined in that room. Who knows or cares what he was coming down with first? There was a grating in the ceiling, a few more feet of height, a few inches skinnier, and he'd easily fit. He could be up there right now, growing claws and vomiting infected blood everywhere and taking who knows what other dormant diseases with him. SCP-008? 742? Oh god, what if he's come down with SCP-217?
A recovery team later had to be sent to the facility after no contact was made for 72 hours. By this point, it was pure chaos. One agent was found crawling through the vents with his sidearm drawn. Another was found having locked himself in the barracks with an improvised flamethrower, and one agent was found dead in a supply closet, having created an airtight seal with garbage bags and duct tape after locking himself in with water and ration packages. As a result of this, the site was shut down. The SCP entry had to be revised, as staff had classified it as a Keter-level world-ending threat, and further research into this anomaly was effectively stonewalled by the O5 Council. After careful review of all research on SCP-1025, I'm ordering an immediate evaluation of whoever approved the use of 27 D-Class subjects, an isolated facility, and a dedicated underground bunker on this money pit. Not one out-of-the-ordinary infectious agent was found any place this item was tested, and every involved staff member had passed a basic psych exam within the previous year. I have no idea how far up the chain of command this hypochondria by proxy effect can reach, or how it works, and frankly, I see no benefit in learning. Stick it in a box, lock it up, and for God's sake, try not to worry about it. As if just reading an encyclopedia of diseases wasn't painful enough, now this one will give you smallpox and get you vivisected by the Foundation. Not to mention a stern talking to from the O5 Council. Yeesh. Now, SCP-447 is an anomaly that's a bit less innocuous than our previous examples. SCP-447 is a spongy green sphere that constantly secretes a viscous greenish slime at a rate of approximately 10 cc's per hour. It's kept in a 50-gallon clear plastic container and harvested occasionally for various uses. Testing has shown that this goo is largely harmless and has a lot of potential uses. For example, SCP-447 was combined with SCP-500, the cure-all pills covered in our last video, which resulted in the pill also giving the user minty fresh breath. 447 was also used in the creation of a makeshift smoke grenade, which was largely successful and also resulted in the smoke having a green tint and a minty smell. One professor used SCP-447 as eye drops, which for some time managed to cure his astigmatism, but also tinted his vision a slight green. Heck, this thing was even mixed with milk, which resulted in the concoction being lactose-free. And this goes on and on. It was used as mirror polisher, guitar string lubricant, pool cleaner, battery life extender, fabric conditioner, candle wax, you name it, with great results every time. If it weren't for the one caveat, this anomaly could easily change the world for the better and make it smell a lot more minty. But that one caveat is a bit of a pain to manage. While the exact effects have been expunged from documentation by the O5 Council, SCP-447 can at no point ever come into contact with a dead body. In fact, this anomaly was at first classified as a Keter-level threat, only now being reduced to safe so long as security measures in place are sufficient to prevent SCP-447 from ever coming into contact with a dead body. Mentions of this restriction are everywhere in this article, from the containment procedures to transportation procedures to staff polygraph tests, and all over the experiment logs. Here are just a few examples to hammer the point home. 447 was used to make better smoke grenades. Results? Great. Notes?
Not bad for a $3 smoke grenade. Although this wouldn't work so well in the field, the odds of the smoke reaching a dead body are just too high.
SCP-447 is used to decontaminate a pool. Result, contamination reduced by 78%. Notes?
This would make a good chlorine substitute for swimming pools. All the cleanliness of chlorinated water without the bleachy smell or hair discoloration. Too bad some swimmers are careless and turn into dead bodies.
SCP-447 is used as a dip for SCP-458, the Infinite Pizza Box. Result, delicious. Note?
I'd suggest we market this stuff as dressing, but people eating lots of pizza on a regular basis tend to become dead bodies. So...
SCP-447 is used as a gun lubricant. Result, reduced recoil, increased accuracy, and range. Note:
The more testing we do, the more I begin to wonder how more advanced technology would be. If only this damn dead body curse didn't exist. This stuff would benefit us in so many ways. This test shows that guns would become extremely efficient, but then again, guns are used to kill people, so you will run into a dead guy at some point.
And finally, test subject, 1 dead body. Note: test was aborted. The scientist who made the proposal has been reassigned as D-class personnel. Note:
Seriously, guys, how hard is it to understand? No dead bodies. None. Nada. 9. Don't think about it. Don't joke about it, and most certainly, don't do it. Sheesh.
Okay, that one's kinda funny, but it's really a shame, isn't it? This thing has the potential to change the world, and yet, when you think about it, is there anything out there that really has 0 chance of coming into contact with a corpse ever? Personally, I wouldn't risk it. Our next SCP is 1048, a teddy bear. No joke, it's just a little teddy bear that walks around and hugs people's legs. For a time, this SCP was allowed to freely roam the halls of Site-24 and was classified as safe, even being mentioned as a factor in improving site morale. But after the full extent of its anomalous properties was revealed, all of this was immediately changed, leading to a strict no teddy bear policy anywhere near Site-24. Which, yes, sounds silly, but in the words of Dr. Carver,
"This is not a joke. We have no idea what SCP-1048's full capabilities are. Who knows how many of the damn things are out there by now?"
So, what could inspire an entire Foundation site to get this worked up about a teddy bear? Well, believe me, it was justified. After 7 months in open containment, it was discovered, or at least hypothesized, that SCP-1048 is capable of creating replicas of itself using various materials. To date, 3 such replicas have been identified, henceforth referred to as SCP-1048-A, 1048-B, and 1048-C. 1048-A is a replica of 1048 that is similar in shape and size, but is composed entirely of human ears. You heard that right, pun intended, a teddy bear made of ears. It was first spotted accompanying 1048, seemingly being given a tour of Site-24, but when a security team was dispatched to contain 1048-A, it emitted a high-pitched shriek, which caused ear-like growths to spontaneously grow over all the bodies of nearby personnel, resulting in the death of the entire security team due to asphyxiation. Both teddy bears then fled the scene, and have not yet been recaptured despite several sightings around Site-24. After this incident, a researcher was discovered missing an ear, which, according to him, was removed through unknown means while he was sleeping. So, there's a new nightmare for you. As for 1048-B, it was discovered in Site-24's cafeteria, looking more like a typical teddy bear. That is, until an arm burst out of its chest and it began screaming like a human infant before committing unspeakable acts upon a nearby female researcher. Several hours later, a doctor, redacted, was found unconscious and bleeding in her office, an abortion having been performed on her in her sleep. All those involved in this incident are undergoing heavy therapy. Understandable. Maybe we just move on from this one. SCP-1048-C is a teddy bear composed entirely of rusted metal scraps, which was only seen once by Dr. Carver, as it killed and maimed numerous personnel while running through the halls of Site-24. Its current whereabouts are unknown.
I cannot stress this enough. The damn thing jumped right through those poor people.
Remind me to stay far, far away from Site-24. And from teddy bears, I guess. Our final SCP for this week, 1230, is not one most would consider dangerous, but I beg to differ. This SCP is an unlabeled green hardcover book. When opened, it displays the phrase, "A hero is born" on the first page, while all other pages remain blank. This book's anomalous property comes about whenever the reader next falls asleep. That night, the reader will dream of a fantasy world where they are the protagonist of a troubled land, but rather than the vague, distorted reality of a dream, the reader will instead be fully conscious, having all their senses in perfect working order, and will be able to remember their dream in its entirety upon awakening from it. These dreams always contain a character called the Bookkeeper, who appears as a bearded man in a green cloak and proclaims to be the creator of the fantasy-scapes contained within the dreams of the readers. The Bookkeeper has stated that they enjoy creating these dreams in order to give the dreamer the most entertainment possible, and expressed sorrow when the dreams come to an end, asking the dreamer to please visit again soon. These dreams have been documented to last anywhere from 45 seconds to hundreds of years from the reader's perspective, but don't actually affect how long the reader sleeps in reality, meaning you could spend years fighting dragons all in a 10-minute power nap. This anomaly was found by the Foundation in a small bookstore after the shopkeeper attempted to sell a story to local newspapers about a magic book he had no recollection of owning. The Foundation, of course, swiftly confiscated the book and dispelled the shopkeeper's story as a hoax. Initial testing on this anomaly was largely conclusive and harmless, largely thanks to the bookkeeper willingly providing information about the book's anomalous properties, such as the limitless range of the anomalous effect, and the fact that it only affects beings with an imagination. Further testing, where D-Class were asked to harm themselves or attempt to die within the dream, showed that pain sensations are largely numbed within the dream, and no harm can actually come to the dreamer's body as a result of the dream. So, I know, this anomaly sounds awesome. Getting to live through amazing adventures within your dreams without losing any actual time or risking injury just sounds like a massive upside. And to an extent it is, but I suppose this is where my inner nihilist is revealed. When something fake is too good, it can make everything real seem pointless. Let's have a look at experiment log 1230-05. Professor B, an avid fan of tabletop and role-playing games, excitedly requested permission to access SCP-1230 and was quickly approved due to his level 4 clearance. Staff noted he was almost visibly shaking with excitement. He sat down, opened the book, then promptly fell asleep. 15 hours later, he had still not woken up, prompting on-site medical staff to check his vitals and confirm that he was alive and in good health. After a full 24 hours had passed, Professor B finally began to move, slowly waking up and looking around the room, seeming deeply confused.
Where am I?
After being sent to medical and being explained where and who he was, Professor B seemingly regained his memory and excused himself to the restroom. When 15 minutes had passed without him returning, a nurse entered, only to find he had hanged himself with his belt. A scribbled message on the wall revealed his last words.
I can't go back to this.
When another researcher went to investigate SCP-1230 for signs of what might have happened, all of its pages were soaking wet, with the same message being written on every page.
I'm so sorry. I never intended for this to happen. I just wanted to make people happy.
After this continued for several weeks, the researcher, Dr. F, attempted to place a sticky note inside 1230 in an attempt to communicate with the bookkeeper, which seemingly worked. Here is the log of his dream from that night.
Upon falling asleep last night, I dreamt I was on a dark void. There was a street lamp, and underneath it was SCP-1230-1, the bookkeeper, sitting in a puddle. His cloak was visibly soaked, and he was sobbing profusely. I remember our conversation.
Bookkeeper? Is that you? My god, man, where are we?
I couldn't think of anything to make for a landscape.
Bookkeeper, what happened that day? Why did Professor B kill himself? We have to know your side of the story.
He had such an active imagination. I was able to create a vast and beautiful universe for him, and it was so obvious that he had wanted a life like that for so long. He conquered foul beasts and rescued princesses, he built kingdoms and even raised a family, but he never wanted to leave. He delved so far into his fantasy world that I soon realized he preferred his dream over the real world. I reminded him this was all merely an illusion, but he wouldn't listen to me. He stated that if he was ever forced to leave, he would immediately end his life. I tried to keep him happy for as long as I could.
Bookkeeper, how long was the dream?
200 years, Doctor. I did my best, but I could only hold on to him for 200 years. As sweet as dreams may be, eventually, we all have to wake up.
I awoke almost immediately after. I can't believe he spent 200 years in a dream. I'm astounded by his foolishness, but it's such a shame to have lost a brilliant mind to his own delusions.
Shortly after this, Dr. F slipped another paper into SCP-1230, later stating that he
just gave it some friendly advice.
After which, the book resumed its normal appearance and anomalous properties. SCP-1230 is now located in a secure storage locker behind the desk of Site-12's main library, and is accessible to personnel given that they are in satisfactory psychological condition and submit to follow-up psychological examination. Now, while that's all the documentation we have about SCP-1230, I feel it brings up a much deeper philosophical discussion. You may think this anomaly doesn't live up to the title of more dangerous than it looks simply due to one bad outcome, but to me, it brings up Robert Nozick's experience machine, because in essence, SCP-1230 is an experience machine. The experience machine thought experiment, to put it simply, theorizes a machine that could produce favorable sensations in the brain, allowing you to simply float in a tank and have your brain flooded with the good chemicals, or allow you to live a simulation of a perfect life for your entire life. And should this machine exist, we would in theory have no reason not to simply live inside of it, as a life that maximizes pleasure and fulfillment should in theory be the perfect life. Now, of course, there are many counterpoints and counters to those counterpoints, but all in all, I believe there is a significant portion of the population that would, without a doubt, choose to live in a simulated perfect life rather than their own. And should they get a taste of this perfect life, would see little reason to continue with their real, mundane life. And this, of course, only becomes truer the worse the world becomes. Let's imagine SCP-1230 were available to the public today. In an era of depression, isolation, and helplessness, where escape into fantasy is already a prominent part of everyday life that most can't go a day without, one can only imagine the masses that would choose a hand-tailored 200-year fantasy epic over this life in a heartbeat. Wouldn't you? And that's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, remember to ask yourself, is ignorance safer than truth?